what's up, everybody? This is Cam, aka the Honky Tonk Hair Machine with the Rugged Revival. Who am I here with today?
Cam, this is Joe, also known as Bar J Bar.
RJ Barr. Thank you so much, brother, for sitting down with me. I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So, I always like to ask this first question, kind of just gives us a little peek about who you are. Um, you can give as simple of an answer as you want, or you can go into detail. Totally up to you. But where are you from originally, and what was life like for you as a kid?
I'm from Eastern Connecticut originally. It's a town called Norwich. And usually when I'm out of the state, not a lot of, but I mean, Connecticut's a very small state in southern New England. So uh, if anyone's like kind of familiar with the region, they're familiar with the fact that I grew up next to two giant casinos. So one of them was called
Nice.
Mohegan Sun, the other one's called Foxwood. So that's the probably the most recent element of significance from the land of Connecticut where I was born and raised. But
All right.
yeah, what I like to say about Connecticut a lot is, at least for me personally, is it was New England was like a great place to be a kid. I can grow up. It had a lot of exposure to like the best of everything. It's close to lots of urban environments, close to a lot of forests, a lot of places where I could, just go and uh, be out in nature. I don't know. It was beautiful in that way. But the West was always calling.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you're a fantastic guitar player. When did you actually start playing the guitar?
Guitar was music in general was. I mean, it was kind of like a late start for me. So I didn't really play music in any fashion until I was 19, maybe 19, 20 years old. And so that it was around that time that I actually had a bunch of friends that I went to high school with. And that's about the time I was playing. I started picking a bunch of stuff up at the same time. So it was like guitar and drums and bass. And we would just throw a bunch of instruments in the basement and pick up organs and pianos off the side of the road and put together drum kits. And it was just a bunch of noise back then, but it was great. But that was when I got going with it all.
Man, that reminds me a lot of my friends and I. We used to just drive. I grew up near an army base called Fort Belvoir, and people move in and out of there, so they're always throwing stuff on the curb. And we would do the same thing: drive around, just pick up. I mean, if it was broken and rusted, it's almost like we wanted it more. You know?
Oh man, 100%. Yeah, and it's. I think about that now. Even the bar we were playing at last night in uh, Humble, which is like just kind of north of Houston, Texas, and um, there was an organ in the back behind the stage where we were playing that the J. Rad Cooley, was playing harmonica on this tour we just got off of. He's a great piano player, but naturally, he sees the organ back there, he plugs it in. But I just think about that all the time of like pulling up some old church organ that somebody was throwing away. And it was useless to the church, and it was probably useless to us too. Like nobody knew how to play it, but everything looks musical when you're starting to play music,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's beauty in the art of it, right? It's like, the out of tune keys make something beautiful at the end of the day also.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Like, and almost to some extent, you're so fresh, or when you're so green about it all, it's like just the noise is just pleasing.
Yeah.
Just noise is pleasing.
Yep, that's absolutely right. So you've been in the game since about 19. When did you start actually taking your music on the road?
I played, so it was maybe 2 years after I was, we were kind of farting around playing just playing in the basement. The first real band I played in, I mean, there was a moment that actually truly the first real band I played in was I was playing bass in a Guns N' Roses cover band when I was
Nice.
probably like 21 years old. and we never played a show. And we played on the radio once at the college I went to, and I remember the drummer at the time just cussing out the rhythm guitar player like live on air, and I thought that was the funniest thing ever. But that there was no money or anything in that band. It never became anything. But around that same time, uh, there was a fella at the school I went to. Was a professor at the college I went to, who taught clawhammer banjo.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so strangely enough, I took him up on learning, and then he basically put me. String bands were what I played in first. So like
Mhm.
I played in a string band in college, and that band, which was in some ways kind of his brainchild. His name was Richard Jones Spamman, and he was just such a lover of old time music that he just found, like students in the school that they found a fiddle player, there was a cello player, that all the first people I really played with seriously, and put us all together in what was a school ensemble, and then eventually became like the first band I played with and gigged with, after, in my early 20s. So that was like the original impetus. I remember the first tour we ever did was back then I didn't know how to book shows, nor did I know how to book a string band,
Mhm.
not that it would be any easier now with booking like an old time string band, but I used to book like farmers markets. So the first tour we ever did was like a book of farmers markets around New England. And that was like probably in 2013 or 2014, you
It's
know.
pretty cool though, man. That reminds me, I did guitar theory through high school. You would not know it, but I did guitar theory for, all through high school. And my core group of friends, maybe like four of us, would find ourselves in like this locker area where they kept like the upright basses and like all the stringed instruments. And the guitar teacher was so cool about just letting us figure it out. He's like, you know what? You guys are in here. I can see the curiosity, and it sounds awful, but you're still doing the thing.
Yeah, but you know, and I don't know. I'm sure there's like differing theories or opinions on what the best way to like cultivate certain skills is, but music as a skill is strange in that it's a skill that is also, it's it needs to be facilitated like in a un what would be the word? Like without too much structure sometimes.
Yeah, you have to let it breathe. It's like, opening a bottle of red wine. You got to let it just kind of
You
do its
have
thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially like I said, I'm assuming that maybe that there's some differing schools of thoughts on it, maybe in terms of like creating and composing versus um like replicating music, maybe from like a classical background or something like that. But yeah, I think at least from the creative side of things, you have to have those moments of just hearing the noise, and
Mhm.
just like I don't know, just being playful, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think when we're making art, I think we tend to be the most critical of art because it looks like us or it sounds like us. Like, oh, I play this guitar riff, sounds like a Cam riff. It's like, it's not any good. And I think you can, you know, like Iggy Pop and Bowie and even Tom Waits, those guys have all put out albums that are kind of like jazzy a little bit and maybe like a little noisy, and I think at that point they were like, you know what, I'm done making songs to make them like catchy sing along songs. I'm making like real from the heart music at some point, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and two, whether or not you create something that ever you have the intention of it seeing the light of day, or whether or not you're creating something like I think to some extent there's probably, and I know this is like kind of a bit of an aside from just like music in general, but yeah, it's like creative, uh, the discipline of creativity.
Mhm.
You have this whole other room that exists alongside whatever the public creation is, of
Mhm.
kind of stuff that you just do without really any intentionality of it being like for and not just money making, but just for like public consumption. It's
Mhm.
purely just I always like to think about it as like you do it out of compulsion. It's like a compulsion to create separate of anything else other than the feeling that you just need to, you know.
Right. Humans are designed to make art. It's like the first thing we want to do as kids. You put a couple of kids, 2 3 year old toddlers or whatever in a room. You got clay, you've got percussion, all these things. They want to create, they want to sculpt and make art. It just comes natural. I think hate and anger, it's not a real thing. We're meant to be loving, artful creatures, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I mean, in some ways, there was, I think from like growing up where I did, there was like an idea of just like purely being artistic on its own
Hmm.
isn't really a justification for like making a life out of it. If that
Hmm.
makes, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but then in my head, I always think 10,000 years ago, somebody was getting chased by lions and making a fire in a cave, and they had time to paint on a wall.
Yep.
It's like it's just like you said, it's completely innate. It's just
Yes.
in for whatever reason, you know.
That's actually really funny. Like, even back then, they still had time to create, even with all the fears and the predators and
It's wild. Yeah, it
uh-huh.
is. Yeah. And maybe
So
just
go ahead. Go ahead.
well, no, I was only saying maybe just a side effect of a big brain, but it's like who knows? It's like
Yeah. Well, there's like, there's something to our core, right? Like, maybe we know we got to do what we have to do to survive. But at the end of the day, we have this innate need to create. Like, if you go any stretch of time without touching your guitar, it feels weird.
yeah,
It's like or a drum or a bass. You're like, I feel like something's wrong with me. So you have to get in that room and create again.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. There's no doubt.
So you all have a lot going on stage. You're a multi instrumentalist. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face when trying to bring the best show possible to the masses?
Oh my gosh. I feel like we talk about this quite a bit on the road, but it's it, the band, so like Bar J Bar is the stage name, but then like over the years it's associated with me and like the brand and the music that I put out. But it's like a banner for like who when we're traveling around as well, like the
Mhm.
band as well. So it's like doing double duty in that way. But over the years, it's been, I've had lots of different lineups, and the show has always changed. So I think always from the start of it, like whenever I brought that name out on the road originally, the Bar J Bar as the stage name, there was always some amount of shtick involved. There was
Mhm.
always just something kind of goofbally that we were doing on stage. Um, and it's evolved with each group in terms of like whatever what I thought we could do on stage. It used to like a lot of times it used to just be me getting on a bar and throwing my guitar at people in the crowd and like
Mhm.
and then it would evolve into like me and other bandmates would like all the towers and like crawling on each other and jumping on each other's shoulders. But the instrumentation also changed too because there was never like a consistent vehicle that we were touring in. So like one of the I think where it was the most evident was uh the the iteration of the band I was touring with at the point was Pete Posey was playing pedal steel and Red McAdam was playing upright bass at the time. And someone took a video of us, um I think it was Kirsty and well, whatever the case is. But this was I think it was at a show in Kansas City. And Red was sitting on my shoulders, and we put the double bass up with
Oh
him
yeah.
on my shoulder. And it for whatever reason, it was like everybody was like watching that video. And then later on, that formation of the band was only together for a winter time. Like I think it was like one or two like month-long tours. So when I would go out again, and sometimes we didn't have the double bass, there would be people that would only know the music from that video,
Right.
and they're like, "Hey, where's the bass?" Or like, "Do the trick."
Uh-huh.
Isn't this what you do? And I think for a little while, like I kind of got rubbed about that, where I was like, "Oh man," because we're writing music, we're performing original music too. So it's always that feeling of like, I don't want to just be the monkey with cymbals. Like I
Right.
want people to sit here and listen too. But now uh it's evolved. Like actually it's a super pertinent conversation because even last night, J Rad, who I was saying before is the playing harmonica in this formation of the band, he was saying last night, he's like, there's no reason not to like give the crowd what it wants because
Mhm.
you just as much as like I don't know, it's like you're all in it together. It's not
Right.
adversarial. There is no adversarial relationship there. You're spending your time together, and they're there to enjoy themselves, and you're there to enjoy yourself and do the job. And if you can't enjoy yourself and do a little shtick, I mean, not even get over it. Like learn to love it. I don't know what like it's just part of it. It's part of the performance. So yeah, that much is definitely evolved throughout the many
But
iterations of the
that makes sense though, right? Like I think there's a balance with doing a little bit of fan service, right? Kind of playing the hits, if you will. Like
yeah.
you gotta play, Scorpions gotta play Rock You Like a Hurricane every night,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
but then also doing like we are artists at the core. So how do I get up here and bring you a unique experience night after night, which is also a lot of pressure on you night after night. But then yeah, doing the bass trick. And yeah, it's not easy to travel with an upright bass. Anybody that's ever done that can tell you that's not easy with just the space, the storage.
Yeah, man. It's the lost member of the band. That's what I say. It's like a piece
Yeah.
of furniture that you just got to take around with you. So it's
Well,
crazy.
I saw that video, and the first thing that came to mind was the resonation through your skull into your teeth. Like I could almost feel it because it looked like his bass was resting right against your head, and he's just like, going at it. I was
It's
like, I can
fun.
feel the filling shaking out of my teeth right now.
It was, or even, I mean, to some extent too, like the bass trick used to be reversed. So there was the original bass player in the band who was playing upright. His name was Ben Eaton. And I would sit on Ben Eaton's shoulders and I would sit up there with guitar and he'd be playing upright. And then I played upright and he played guitar. So then some shows we would switch. I'd sit on his shoulders and then somewhere through the show we'd switch and do it the other way. And I think Red was the first time we'd ever tried it with like the bass going up. And there's just something that like looks so lopsided about it. I think people,
Yeah.
like also there's this like concept of like, not that an upright bass it's cumbersome, but it's not necessarily like heavy,
Hmm.
so there's just that look of it's just like, what even is, like how's this working? Like, but yeah, it was it's the cumbersome part of it that you more often than not it worked, but definitely as we were figuring it out, there was a couple of shows where I think we were probably getting kind of cocky. And I think we made it all the way to Charleston, South Carolina. We were playing a show there, and we toppled for the first time after being like, "This is wild! Like we haven't fallen once during this trick," and we just totally ate it,
Oh
hard right
yeah.
instead.
It's
Yeah,
almost like when you overthink it and like you bring some like attention to it is when it goes wrong.
oh,
You know,
100%.
if
Yeah,
you just go through it, muscle memory, it's going to be fine every time.
definitely. Yeah, but
So
then also it's like the danger element is, it's it's got to be exciting for us too. Like if it's not kind of risky, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's still at the end of the day, it's still rock and roll, you know?
100%. Yeah, you got to feel something.
Absolutely. Um, so you seem like kind of like a tall guy though. Like you wouldn't work on my shoulders. Like I'm only 5'10". I think your feet would still touch the ground if you got on my shoulders.
No, no. I mean, there's uh, Jordan Wilson, who I play with quite a bit. It was in like different bunch of iterations of the band. Wilson's maybe inch and change like taller than I am.
Oh,
I'll
wow.
send I'll send Wilson up sometimes, you know. And I've got on Wilson's shoulders before. It'll work. It'll work.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
So you seem like you have a pretty wide array of influences. Who I know you probably get asked this all the time, but who are some of your favorite country and non-country influences today?
Country and non-country. As far as country, I like to say, and I was just before we got on this camera, I was just having this conversation, which I mean this in earnest. This is how often I talk about this. Like Bob Wills to me, even if I don't feel like it comes across in the music I write, Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys offers everything. And a big part of that that's close to my heart is because I played string band music and I played fiddle music. So
Mhm.
that my whole entrance into Bob Wills was through the first guitar player I played with in that string band who introduced me to Bob Wills. And it was because, like, for me, I was listening to like a adaptation of fiddle tunes I was learning at the time, but just, filtered through like Texas swing style, which,
Mhm.
so that was cool. And over the years, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I, at the risk of just saying exactly what I had already been saying about Bob just moments ago. Uh, the band kind of encapsulates this really great snapshot of like American music in all ways. Like it's just incorporating so much. It's like all these elements of American music that you can hear, and it's like the fiddle tunes are there. The like it's like jazz is in there, and it's a very specific moment of jazz of like this is like swing. It's like it's dance jazz. It's jazz when jazz was like you were still dancing to it. The band was still going and playing, so that people were coming out. It's very practical
Mhm.
jazz element in it. It's blues. It's everything. It's all these things squashed down into a band. That's like a working band,
Mhm.
and then also too being like over the like to me, like I listen to that music, it's like all the ahas and everything. It's like it's almost like an instant caricature of itself. But the more I dig into it, like I would even listen to it, like you could completely overlook like the lyricism of Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys, but then you just listen to it and you're like, this is everything. Like it's folksy but self-aware without being like, yeehaw. And
Mhm.
it's cheeky and it's like edgy sometimes. And I don't know, it's just so as far as like closest to the music I play, yeah, I would say Bob Wills is like a good um as good as I can get for one one band that really has like all the elements that I would love to incorporate like much as I can in the music that I create, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, that
for sure.
makes sense. It's interesting what you said about a band getting on stage and the crowd enjoying the music and dancing, right? And when I picture like going to the honky tonk, that's what I picture. The band's playing, they're playing the music, and the fans want to dance. I think somewhere along the line, it became more about what's happening on stage it's just meant to be on stage. The theatrics are all happening on stage, and the crowd is meant to stand and nod, and all the action's happening here. And they forget, like, a lot of the from what I've seen, people might argue with me on this, but a lot of the DC crowds, we want to stand and just
Oh,
nod. And
Yeah.
and folks forget, like, you're allowed to dance. You should dance. You should move your body, get out there and do that. And like for me growing up in the DC punk scene, it was more about what was happening in the crowd. The band was on their stage doing their thing, but you got the circle pits, the moshing, the stage dives. Everybody's coming at you all the time. And when I kind of like to where I'm at today, my wife and I will dance, we'll have a good time, but we also don't want to be the only ones.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny because I wonder if, like, almost to some extent too, there's a reason why there's like a very natural meshing of worlds between punk scenes and uh like country scenes is like later on. And I think a lot of that is because the audiences are participants. Like, you're not
Yeah.
just an observer, you're a participant. I was lucky enough, this was before I played music, but I had friends when I was in high school who played in hardcore bands, and I was like, I never would have gone to a pit or been inside a pit. But I was like I played contact sports. Like, I was like a young, healthy guy. So when I went to those shows and I finally got to go and like get into a pit, I was like, oh, this is incredible. Like, it's just because, just like you said, you're somehow suddenly become like you're an active
Yeah.
member of everything that's happening in the room, rather
Yes.
rather than just passively kind of consuming it and taking it in. You're
Yeah.
contributing in some way.
Yeah, Joe, I think you just connected the dots perfectly. I think we've been trying to figure out this pipeline from like punk and metal to like folk and country and bluegrass. And I think that's absolutely right. You may have just solved the puzzle. And it's the crowd and the band are one. It's everything you just said. I think that's absolutely right. And that's why like that feeling of community, feels good because it feels right at home, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And there's, to some extent too, and this is like a strange, like, cyclical product of playing and aging, but I think maybe too there's a bit of like a misguided effort originally of thinking that somehow the personality or the brand of like what you brought to the stage was like the most important element of it, right? It has to be this like fully formed thing. People have to go there and they have to see this like character, right? They're going there to see some sort of character. Like, that's what they're there for. It's the music's attached to you, the people in your band, all this stuff they're seeing, right? But looping it back in with that idea of like the audience as like a participant, like, I even realize this now is like this past January, we had a couple week run at the beginning of the month, and I booked two square dance, two square dances on that tour, you know, and I'm frequently trying to add more square dances into the schedule. Where, like, even guys I'll take along that maybe aren't even old time adjacent, like they don't play string band music, they don't play field music. I'll try to bring them in the fold because it's always in my mind is this explanation of like, this is it's like a free day for you as a band where the dancers are coming purely to dance. They don't care about you on stage. Not that they don't care. Like, you're
Yeah.
just there. You're there to be you're the beat, and then
Yep.
they're interacting with each other. And in some ways, it's you and the band. You're responding to them. You're trying to give them what the tools they need to like get the job done, which is you want that. You want to see the floor moving. That's what you want. Like,
Yeah.
that's your role, rather than trying to get across. You know, uh, I hope you understand how she broke my heart and how I'll never get over it again. You know what? What?
That makes absolute sense, man. Like when you look out and you see the crowd having a good time, you're doing your job. You're like, look, man, everyone's dancing. Even the wallflowers, they've come off onto the floor. They're dancing. Like I remember, when I was playing in hardcore bands, it would be the weirdest shows when you're doing all this anthemy, getting people fired up and you look out and everyone's like, yeah. It's like,
Right.
come on, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you feel like clipped. You're like, what? You know what I mean? What do I do now? You know, it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, it feels super weird. So you also have a great look. You know, look, I'm in the fashion industry. I've been in it my whole life. The first thing I'm drawn to somebody is their look. And you have a great style about you. What's your favorite on stage attire that you go for when you hit the road?
I'm pretty simple. You know, I if we can the only the let me double back here. So most of the time I I just like a nice fresh pair of Dickies and and now I don't know, maybe it's because I'm in my mid 30s, but I tuck my shirt in, and that's
Yes.
like that's I feel like that's the least I can do. Or it's like I used to have a friend Jim. He said it's the least I can do, and I always do the least I can do. But that's the least I can do now. But there's been times in the past. I mean, there's times on runs where it's like I'll, I'll try to get everybody to bring a suit along, and we'll try to suit up for as long as we can until it's not like everybody in the band has three different suits they can wear. So you're on a month-long tour and you've been wearing the same suit every night for 6 days a week of gigs, and that suit doesn't seem so appealing on day 20.
Yeah. Gets a little funky after a while.
Oh man, it gets raunchy fast. So yeah, I mean, I think ideally, I mean, we're it's a pretty small time and DIY operation most of the time. So if we can keep keep the suits on hangers and keep them looking halfway decent, we'll always try for suits. And if not, then you're probably going to see it showing up in Dickies with somewhat wrinkled shirts. It's
You know what it is, Joe? It's that I think there's a time and a place for athleisure, And Nick, you're in the van, you don't want to wear your suit in the van. You want to wear your shorts and your tees. But I think what it is like athleisure has become so dominant in society that when people see you remotely put yourself together and go out in the world, it turns heads. Like people get like, I work in Arlington just outside of DC, and I've usually got a pearl snap tucked into jeans and boots and a hat. And to me, I'm not really that dressed up, but people stop and stare. They're like, "What? Where's he going? Who's getting married?"
yeah. I mean, but what? Oh my gosh, I'm not as familiar with the repertoire. Because like an old classic jazz song. I feel what is it? Feel undressed without my cane or something like that. But whatever the case is,
Oh
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like you
Uh-huh.
don't for you stepping out in anything less would feel like you just you feel like you didn't have your shirt on if you know what I mean, if your shirt's not tucked in or whatever. So yeah, I know what you mean. And I think that it it's a very easy way and surprisingly accessible way of, just like you said, just if bare minimum of separating yourself in
Yeah.
terms of and then the other thing too is like when you're kind of stinky ratty musicians walking around all the time, you're trying to get any like little bit of respect you can. So it's like if it means I gotta tuck my shirt in, and not wear my jean shorts all the time. It's like, okay, like I can do that. I can pull that off.
Yeah, we can
No,
do that. Like you said, the bare minimum.
this is it's a
So
bare.
so Joe, like I said, we keep this short and sweet. Where can we find you on the socials?
Uh, at Bar J Bar everywhere, and that's spelled out BarJayBar, and that would be across the board on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook.
Fantastic. That sounds
Yeah,
great, brother. Well, look, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to stop recording, but you can hang on the line with me for just a minute. But I do appreciate your time, and we should do this again.
would love to, Cam. Thanks so much.
Thank you, brother.